Yeah, great. Good morning in USA, Canada. Good afternoon in UK, Europe, Africa. Good evening in Asia, Pacific, India, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore. Late good evening in Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, today is Wednesday. New DNA of leadership. What a fabulous day for me to welcome a very well-known, down-to-earth, simply elegant, I repeat, simply elegant, Professor J.P. Sani, the Vice Chancellor of prestigious Netaji Subhash University, Delhi, to this prime time leadership excellence series called New DNA of Leadership. Welcome, Professor Singh, and indeed my honor.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you very much, colleague.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce this great personality of ours, who is an education excellence leader of our great country. And he is presently the Vice Chancellor of Netaji Subhash University of Technology. We call it NSUT, UT New Delhi. He joined as the first founder, Vice Chancellor on 26 September 2018. Professor Sani holds BTech in Electronics Engineering in 1987 from KNIT Sultanpur, MTech in Electrical Engineering 1996 from IIT Kanpur. He got his PhD in Electronics Engineering from KNIT Sultanpur, from Dr. RML Awadh University, Faizabad, in January 2001. He is known to be a very humble but very passionate teacher. Professor Sani, in fact, joined the erstwhile Netaji Subhash Institute of Technology, New Delhi, 25th July 2017 till 25th September 2018. Before joining NSIT, he was working as the director, Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Technology for Handicapped, UP Kanpur. It's another journey of excellence which he has done, which we need to talk today. And he worked there for 2 terms. As well as he was the principal of Madan Mohan Malviya Engineering College, Gorakhpur, from Jan 2010 to December 2013. Simultaneously, he was holding the charge of additional principal in MKR Engineering College of Information Technology, Azamgarh. Professor Sani is Professor of Electronics and Communication Engineering in Bundelkhand Institute of Engineering and Technology, BIET, Jhansi. When you look at Professor Sani, he possesses around 3 decades of experience in academic research as well as academic administration. It's a package. He was a coordinator in UP State entrance exam for 2 terms, 2008 as well as 2015. Also, he coordinated SEE online counseling from 2004 to 2008. Professor Sani had the additional examination controller from January 2001 to July 2004. He served with various responsibility in BIET Jhansi, head of the department of 3 tenures, Dean Research and Development, associated with the World Bank assisted TEQIP project. So that means when you look at Professor Sani, it is indeed multi-skilled and multi-tasked approach. Professor Saini has served as member of academic and research committees of various universities, besides serving as a member of several governing bodies of government institutions and universities like Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar Institute of Information Technology, Bijnor, Manyavar Kanshi Ram Engineering College of Information Technology, Azamgarh, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar Institute of Information Technology, Banda, Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Technology for Handicapped, UP, Kanpur, Budelkhand Institute of Engineering Technology, Jhansi, Harcourt Butler Technology Institute, Jhansi, this Kanpur, National Institute of Electronic and Information Technology, Madan Mohan, Malviya Engineering College, MMMEC, we call it Gorakhpur, Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, Government of India, Uttar Pradesh Technical University, Lucknow, GGSIP University, New Delhi. Amazing. Professor Saab, kitna kaam kiya? Professor Saini, more than 167 international and national research papers, and has also supervised a number of PhDs and MTechs, which we will be talking today, thesis. He is a reviewer in various international journals. His research contribution in the area of electronic engineering appeared in international journals and various international conferences, proceedings published by Springer Velvet, elsewhere, and IEEE. He is a life member of ISTE and a fellow member of IETE. He has a long-standing academic interest in semiconductor. We will be talking about the digital transmission and mobile communication. And we are talking about now, he has been talking about 2 decades back. We will be getting into those areas. He had delivered many lectures, keynote addresses, and chaired various technical sessions during national as well as international conferences and training programs. He also organized and contributed to several faculty development programs. Wow, that's my capability also. For teachers and training program for students and officers of government organizations. When I look at Professor Saini, I can talk on and on, but the way this one-man package is really rewarding.
Thank you.
Professor Saini.
Thank you.
What a background. This one man from an academic to research to administration, and along with that, publications and helping other organizations and other universities, in addition to your role as director, as a vice chancellor. Kitna passion hai. It's very passionate and rewarding experience. How do you feel about yourself?
I am fully satisfied, sir.
Very humble, very simple, very intelligent and diligent way of putting forward, saying, I am fully satisfied. Wow. That is the beauty of this man who is today with us, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Saini, there are people from various platforms who have joined us. I will raise certain questions, and our people who are there as attendees will park their questions, and I will facilitate the process of taking their questions once my questions are over. Additionally, those who are on Zoom, I might allow them to ask the questions themselves. At the same time, we will try to see that we close this program in a period of 60 minutes. It doesn't happen. It takes more time. But I would certainly love to have more and more questions coming from audience, whoever is joining from whichever part of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not only today, it's beyond this day when this YouTube gets into various parts. People start looking at this YouTube and keep learning out of it. I would see that Ambrish Saab has joined, Anshul has joined, In has joined from Thailand. I can see Pramod Kumar Singh, Bhumi Raja Saab has joined. I can see Amteshwar Tripathi Saab has joined, Pramod Kumar Singh and Shiv Mohan has joined, Nida Khanam has joined, Anand Chaudhary has joined. I can see Shiv Mohan has joined. I can see a lot of people already on board, and on a global TV also. I will keep on checking in between. I can see Vandana Sarin Puri has joined, Krishna Gupta has joined. Wow, fantastic. Professor Sani, I have no words to express my gratitude to have you on this show. And my first question to you is, Professor Sani, you said you're very satisfied because that's what talks about your personality and persona. As a vice chancellor of a very prestigious university, well known, बड़ी तारीफें सुनी है आपकी आप कभी अनुश्री लाठर तारीफें करते हैं कभी सैनी साहब. There are many people who are common friends. You have been a trendsetter. You have been surely and certainly creating your own way of working. And at the same time, coming from a very humble background, that humility is still from your face, from your, vibrations coming in. I wish we could be together on face-to-face, but doesn't matter. Digital mode today gives us opportunity to know people more than anything else. How was your childhood as a student, your family especially? I would like to know about your parents. How did they mentor? How did you reach to this level from a child and student age?
Thank you, Dr. Bakshi. You have given me so much honor by inviting to this program. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sir, I came from a lower middle class family, in fact, in Jhansi, which is town in the Bundelkhand region. You heard the name Bundelkhand.
Absolutely.
My late father was a Group C railway employee, and my late mother was a homemaker, and she had no formal education, in fact. But her emotional support was the building block of my childhood education. We were three brothers, and I am the middle child. So economic condition of my family were not very good that time. So there were some difficulties in the childhood days. Definitely you understand. But when it came to the education, my father never compromised on the education of all three brothers, and he made sure that we all get to study. It was the best effort done by my father that time. When the economics of the family is not well placed, then the child has two options. Focus on his energy on the trivial, unimportant matters, as you understand, or to direct her energy in his studies. So I choose the latter and worked hard through my study period that time. This is only because of the dedication of my mother. She was so passionate, in fact, about the study of her children. So, and I want to share one very good thing about my mother. She also started her schooling along with my elder brother that time. In 60s only to teach her children. That was the effort of my mother. Although the quality of school, as you know, in Jhansi, you can expect was not very good. Jhansi lies in Bundelkhand region, as I told, which is one of the most underdeveloped region in our country, even today. With internet access, I can assure that information is now available to students there, but still the exposure of learning opportunities for students in the Bundelkhand are less in spite of huge untapped potential of the students. Just imagine what would have the condition of guidance available to the students in my childhood days, which spanned the 1960s to 70s that time. I still remember an incident that in my days in class 8, we used to have the board examinations along with 10th and 12th in UP board. So result used to get published in newspaper that time, and I had no idea about it back then to how to access the board results, in fact. So I got the merit of the board exam of the results. So my name was published in the newspaper. So one of my neighbor came to my home and informed that your name is Jayaprakash. Manika, yes. So she told me that your name is in the newspaper. So that was the level here that time of awareness. So this was basically in childhood days. So after class 8th, I studied more serious, and then foundation of career path started to build. That was basically my brief about my childhood days.
Oh my God. Ladies and gentlemen around the world who are watching it now or who are going to be watching later, and especially those who are going to be the future leaders of this world, look at the gentleman coming from a family background where mother is uneducated. Like my mother was uneducated and she taught us. And same is the case that 3 children, what Professor Sani said, emotional support by mom. My respects to her. And she must be watching you from the top of the world and seeing her children today progressing. And that is the women power. And we must respect that women power. Your mom, I pray that her soul rests in peace and she's watching us and she's looking at her son today, Professor Sani, as a vice chancellor of a prestigious university, coming from a small place, Jhansi, Bundelkhand, and Bundelkhand still is into the same, it has not gone to that level of upliftment. One of my speakers on this show, Krishan Gupta, who is the founder of Organic Wellness, he has created organic wellness factories in Bundelkhand where nobody was going and he has gone there. And when he was sharing, say 3-4 months back, his story about Bundelkhand, and he said, DK, you need to go with me and I will show you what I have created in that place. Ladies and gentlemen, the opportunity for us to hear such a gentleman who comes from a small town, a background where there was no economically, they were weak, but with the mother's emotional support and father focusing on children education, today, see where Vice Chancellor is. So, ladies and gentlemen, especially those future leaders who are in these smaller towns, छोटे-छोटे शहरों में talent hai. Smaller towns have bigger talent than metros. I always talk about it. That's where I focus on smaller towns. And smaller towns are going to be the smart cities in days to come of this global India, which is going to be powerful days to come. It is indeed what a humble beginning. Professor Sani, looking at your career of 3 decades, groomed and built by your education, BTech in electronics, MTech, IIT Kanpur, PhD in electronic and communication. So all this has gone into your DNA. When we look at DNA of Professor Sani over the years, rather over the decades, and you taking your education excellence into your, into your domain. Tell me, when you were doing this and you were moving forward, there would have been further challenges because when you come out from a very small town, when you people look at you and they look at you in a very different way. And they feel that when we compare between the metro children and the children of these smaller towns, and that's where I say always that smaller towns have the bigger responsibility of creating the talent for this country. So therefore, when you were growing and moving forward, what were those issues of attaining education excellence in these institutions, how will you feel proud of yourself, and who were those mentors who supported you during this period of journey, especially when you were attaining your education?
I would say that my mentor to pursue a career in engineering was my elder brother,
Wow.
late Sri Ram Prakash Saini, who was a school teacher, in fact. He gave me the confidence and idea to work hard. And he always encouraged me a lot to do or to involve yourself in the studies,
And you were
and how to prepare the engineering examinations, competitive examinations,
where those.
here to work hard. Yeah, these days, uh, as you see, with increase in number of colleges, you would see the number of engineering graduates is pretty high, and country also need more and more highly skilled workforce. But in our time, there were very less number of colleges. My brother guided me to take the engineering profession with an idea that I will get a good job after that. It was basically just we can say the expectation of a family. So the entire credit of motivation and guidance to take engineering at KNIT is to be given to my brother and to my whole family, in fact. Later, when I was in BTech final year, when my other batchmates were sitting for campus placement, joining engineering services, I decided to opt for teaching field in my final year. When I was in final year, we used to take some tutorial classes of first year students. So I enjoyed the thrill of teaching and interactions with students. Then it was that moment that I decided to take up teaching as my profession. As I had previously mentioned that due to the family economic conditions, I had to take up work. So I did not have a liberty to go for higher education straight away after graduation. Fortunately, I was offered a teaching position in KNIT itself as a faculty in electronics and communication. It served both my interest in teaching as well as helped in managing the finances also that time. So after getting financial stability, I joined IIT Kanpur for my MTech in electrical engineering. To advance my teaching career as a teaching path, I have opted. There also after MTech, tremendous high paying jobs from this campus placement as at IIT were available. You know that there are a number of companies visited every time in IITs and offered. That time, I am talking about in 90s. So number of opportunities were available here with me at IIT Kanpur. But I had found my passion in teaching, so I decided to stay with it. I worked on the area of neural network at IIT Kanpur, which was an altogether new field at the time of India. Because in 1994, the work on the neural network was in very primary stage that time. So soon after that, I started my PhD under the guidance of late Sri Professor M.C. Srivastava. So I salute him. Her guidance has played an instrumental role in developing my research aptitude. He has developed the research aptitude. He had developed a lot. So earlier I had a passion of teaching, but when it got mixed with the research opportunities, then the fun of learning new things was altogether different. So it is about my education. I obtained as BTech degree, MTech degree, and PhD degree.
Wow.
Nothing more. Yeah.
Then you started teaching. Teaching became your one of the primary passion to drive it. That is why you are known as, ladies and gentlemen, that's why he is known as one of the very passionate teachers in India. People call Professor Sani as one of the passionate teachers because he began to teach and he started loving and respecting and passionating it. But when I see you moving forward in your journey of excellence as an education excellence leader, that you went to shape up the institution called Dr. Ambedkar Institute of Technology for Handicap, UP, at least for 2 terms. And I understand that your contribution to this particular institution, as well as you were principal of Madan Mohan Malviya College of Engineering, Gorakhpur, and all that. But this period of yours has been one of a very, very famous period. While there has been tough situation, but you came out as a very brilliant director in this handicap issue. I would like to know more about this. And how did you create? What did you do? What difference you made? Why people call you as brilliance, director of brilliance in those days?
Thank you. Before joining the Ambedkar Institute, I had held the different academic administrative posts here, like as you have already mentioned, head of the department, Dean Research and Development, placement officers. I was the founder member of examination coordination team of UP Technical University. And we have developed one of the best examination system of UP Technical University. Here, that examination system was evolved for more than 700 plus affiliated to UP Technical University, whose jurisdiction was the entire Uttar Pradesh. I have also served as coordinator of UP Engineering Entrance Examination here in the different phase of my career, and developed a successful model of online counseling system of state entrance examination here in 2004.
Yeah.
And the Uttar Pradesh was the first state starting the online admission process in 2004. So I coordinated online state this counseling for admissions 8 times successfully.
Wow.
But as a full-time academic administration, that was the new challenge as director of Ambedkar Institute of Technology for Handicap, which is well known as AITH. Basically, this institute was established in 1997 by government of UP under the Worldwide project. The institute is a unique kind of autonomous institution imparting the technical education for differently abled students, though undergraduate and diploma level courses. So this is altogether different kind of experience I gained in this particular institute. And by the grace of God, I got the opportunity to understand the problem of physically challenged person and to work with them. AITH really gave me the immense pleasure and satisfaction to work for differently abled students facing day-to-day challenges in the life. I found that students are so much depressed here. So I started here professional counseling to them through in-house developed facilities and developed the modules for individual counseling, group counseling, relational counseling, remedial counseling to the students in the planned manner to overcome the depressions. So we have worked a lot for the physically challenged students here to come up them here with the mainstream. So I started to motivate and train the students how to face the professional challenges to the lives, to live their life here with the dignity and respect. It was the very important part. With the help of NGOs, I started various training programs for personality development and professional development in blended mode that time, with the object to provide them opportunity to accessibility in all respect to prove their abilities. Effort was made to increase the placement opportunities to the students of AITH, and when given this opportunity, the students went ahead and outshined here other able students in placement. So after AITH, this was about the AITH. I have worked there and get the most satisfaction in that particular job, in fact.
Wow.
After AITH, I joined Madan Mohan Malviya Engineering College, Gorakhpur as principal in 2010. This institute is well known as MMM, which is second oldest state college of Uttar Pradesh, established in 1965 as a state-funded engineering college. So that time I was the youngest principal of the college.
Yeah.
Because that particular year, government has relaxed the minimum age limit And I got an opportunity to become the principal of that college at the age of 42. So here, the major challenge here in this particular college, when I had taken the charge as principal, to take the cooperation of the support of the senior faculty member of the college for the development of the college, because it was a very difficult task, because I was the youngest one joined as a principal of the college. But by grace of the God and blessings of Mahamana Malviya ji, really the name of the Malviya, and during my tenure, the college achieved the university status. So I was the instrumental of transforming the institute to the university first time in Gorakhpur.
Wow.
And in fact, I was the last principal of that college. After that, the position abolished. And some more achievements here, I want to share here about this triple MUC during my tenure. UGC granted the autonomous status here, and under 2F and 12B of UGC Act 1956. And college became the first state technical college received the academic autonomy here. AICT also granted the Quality Improvement Program Center for regular sponsored PhD program. So here brief about my previous assignments.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Before joining to this.
Beautiful. Dr. Gupta, Dr. Suresh Gupta, who has joined from Washington, D.C. Good morning, sir. Are you watching another small town person like you? You come from a small town from Haryana and you have made it so big in Washington last 40 years. I think 40 years you are in Washington, D.C. And I can see Nida Khanam. Look at Professor Sani. I can see Deepak Gupta joined. I can see Bharat Sani joined. I can see Shiv Mohan Saab joined. I can see Rabia Nazi from Afghanistan. Yeah, Rabia. Look at this man who has transformed from a smaller town, and he has done so much of great work for physically challenged children, putting them into personality development classes, giving them additional support so that they are treated equal. That is the respectability of this VC Saab from Netaji Subhash Institute. And look at the way he has been promoting these institutions and making them big. That is why he is known as Professor of Brilliance. Yeah, Kuril, yes, his achievements are really great. You are writing, his achievements are great. Yes, Taimur Khan Saab, congratulations to our VC Saab. And I can see, Sudhir joined from Malaysia. Yes, we are looking at some of the very beautiful things from him. Dr. Atul Kumar Dwivedi from BIET, Jhansi has joined. Yes, sir, welcome. See the achievements of a simply elegant personality, Professor Sani, helping various other institutions and in difficult, tough situations. And in 2004, not 2020, talking about online counseling in UP. Can you believe it? Ladies and gentlemen, when you look at India today is the digital power, superpower around the world. And this vice chancellor of ours is talking about online counseling in 2004 in Uttar Pradesh in India. Uttar Pradesh is 30 times Australia. It's such a big state of our country. And he belongs to Uttar Pradesh. क्या बताएं सर, प्रोफेसर साहब? I am really enjoying your talk. And then he is talking about some of the mentors. Professor Sani, now moving to your next level of excellence on the leadership front, when you took over as director of Netaji Subhash Institute of Technology in 2017. Finally, you became your founder, first vice chancellor of NSIT. This is quite amazing. And looking at your background, you have showed extraordinary brilliance in your approach to shape up the university to a very different level. I understand, I have not visited. I understand your university is a masterpiece, and I would love to visit. I would love to see the university, the campus, and I see that this is a very modern institution now. I would like to hear the story of yours, which must be really inspiring for people. And in fact, you won't believe, one of my friend, he's a chartered accountant and a cost accountant, a company secretary, and a law graduate. His name is Anil Vanjani. He called me this morning. I hired him some 20 years back as a CFO of a company when I was working in India. And he called, he said, this evening you have a very, very great vice chancellor. I said, how do you know him? He says, my son is a student of NSUT. And he always talks about our vice chancellor is one of the great personalities. His son is these days part
Thank
of
you.
it.
Thank
So
you very much.
he must be hearing, and he said, I will somehow come and watch your show. So that is the respect. Tell me, what did you do in as a director first for the institution? Then how did you become the founding vice chancellor? What kind of journey? What kind of shaping up this university to this level of excellence today? We will feel very proud to know about this. And even the attendees who are watching you or who are going to be watching you would know about this multitask, multi-skilled personality. Yes, sir.
Uh, so NSIT, as you all aware, was established in 1983 as a name of Delhi Institute of Technology from Kashmiri Gate.
Yeah, I know.
It was renamed in 1997 as Netaji Subhash Institute of Technology here in Dwarka. Since its inception, NSIT, as you know, here has been a seat of higher learning and provide quality engineering education. And one of the very well-known institution of the Delhi, and in fact in India. So here it is basically the second institutions converted to university under my tenure.
Wow.
So with the grace of God, I have fortunate to got this opportunity twice in my career.
Beautiful.
Really, I am very thankful to the God who has given me this opportunity once again. So the support of the government of NCT and the faculty member of NSUT play a major role in a university transition from NSIT to NSUT. So government was very keen here to promote here this institute. So I will say thanks to our NCT, government of NCT of Delhi, who has converted this NSIT to NSUT. So by converting here, a lot of opportunities open to the students of Delhi as well as for India and abroad. So you will find within 2 years of establishment of NSUT, 2 new campuses in East and West Delhi have been added into NSUT family. So now, as on date, NSUT is having 3 campuses. So this is also one of the biggest achievement here within short span of time. This year, NSUT has been ranked 5th here in government-aided institutions across the India in Atal Ranking Innovation Institutions of Innovation Achievements. So this is one of the biggest here from this North India. You will see NSUT is #1 and 5th here in the country. So university has added here 14 new undergraduate programs and similarly 14 new postgraduate programs here to cater the changing dynamics of the engineering industry and market so that our students get more opportunities to take India forward. So within a short span of time, within 2 years, we have added here more number of seats in our campus. So we have started number of incentive schemes here also to encourage the students to take up research and innovations at the university. For example, I will just share, if a student publish a good research articles, he can get a cash prize award ranging from rupees 1 lakh to 5 lakh for each publications. For each publications. Similarly, a cash prize of award of rupees 2 lakhs to 5 lakh for each patent. University has also started teaching them research fellowship schemes of rupees 45,000 per month. which is much higher than UGC schemes granting 34,000 for our PhD scholars. We have launched a number of incentive schemes to encourage our students to take up higher learning. The university ensures that any students would not have to leave their studies at the university due to any financial constraint. So we ensure it. Here, none of the students should leave the university due to their financial constraint. We have launched a number of financial schemes also for fee reimbursement options are also there for economically weak students. So our mission is to invite the here good students, in fact, here our university, and our mission is to develop university as a research and innovation university. And I hope shortly you will find the name of NSUT as one of the research universities. So this is our university is having a very wide canvas.
And look at this, the focus of this Vice Chancellor is on economically weaker section students. Ladies and gentlemen, the future leaders of this great country, look at what is being done for those who cannot afford and who are poor, who are economically weaker. Look at those who have been physically challenged. See the personality, the background of a humble person, Professor Saini. In the meanwhile, Anish Singhal Saab, you are asking a question. Please write your question in your Facebook. Once I am through, I will ask a question on your behalf. I will facilitate. In case you would have been on Zoom, you could ask the question yourself. So please write your question on Facebook, wherever you are chatting right now. Don't stop. Start writing your question. Ladies and gentlemen, others who are there, Dr. Atul Dwivedi, you want to ask a question. Satinder Pandey Saab, please go and ask the question. Kuril MC Saab, please ask the question. Do not wait. Keep writing your questions. Once I am through, Ashish Singhal Saab, I commit that I will take up your question. But in case you can come on the Zoom link, you can ask the question yourself. So that is where we are right now on the Zoom and making this possible. This great Vice Chancellor sir of ours, Netaji Subhash, is something which is fascinating for us, who is supporting the economically weaker section. Now, VC Saab, I go to the another question of mine. When we look at you as a professional, and I call it you package, TRA, teaching, research, academic, I will say TRAA, and administration. So as a package, in addition to the role of administering institutions, huge publications, huge research, teaching as passion for you, I also know that you have been long-standing interest, academic interest in semiconductor, digital transmission, and in mobile communication. Now, I want to know from you, what has been your interest and what has been your contribution? Because this is going to be amazingly a beautiful storytelling today from a person who has actually done it. And when did he do it? Not in 2020. He has been doing it last 20 years. Here, this is up. Please share.
Sure. I have taught almost all the courses dealing with electronics and communication to the students at UG and PG level in my career of 33 years. It has helped me a lot in the research also. Actually, my major research area, that is neural network and communication. Artificial neural network is similar to the human brain performance, as you know. Human brain is basically what? This is a biological computers and having a beautiful thinking and decision-making capability. And also when the new information arrives here in the brain, it is stored without vanishing the old information. So we have retrieved here the feature of the human brain in form of the artificial neural network. And here use the artificial algorithms here to deal here the decision-making capabilities in the ordinary networks. So that was basically my starting research area. In 1997, the research in mobile and wireless communication here was the initial stage in India at that time in 1997. And my research article here that time got the best paper award in IEEE conference in wireless communications. So here from there on to now, I have around 200 publications in these areas and guided here 18 PhD theses so far. And some of the research scholars are still working with me. So this is about here, brief about my research, teaching, or as well as administrative I have already discussed with you. So this is a mixing of here TRA, your TRA, so-called TRA, teaching, research, and administration.
TRA in Professor Sani.
This is a very beautiful word you have devised, really. TRA. Hear this word.
Beautiful, sir. You are double A rather. Administration and academic both. I have done a lot of work on industry academia interface in India and Asia Pacific. I need to learn from you. And in the meanwhile, Ashish Singhal Saab, I have received your question on the Facebook. It will be taken up once I am through. In the meanwhile, look at the gentleman who shared with you how beautifully he has been, in addition to his normal work as a director, as a vice chancellor, doing something which is unbelievable. Education is everything. Education is knowledge is power, and knowledge becomes potential power when we start using it. And knowledge becomes kinetic power when we start sharing it. That is what is Professor Sani known as. Professor Sani, while building on your last question, how do you see Indian education system going forward? With the new education policy already announced, how would it help to become globally talented, vocally and locally we talk about? With this background of this new education policy, how do you see India in the pipeline of becoming in next 1 decade? Against all international odds, we have all tough international odds every day. Fulfill the dream of Prime Minister Modi to be Atmanirbhar, because it will all depend on education, education, education. Can you give me your vision on the future of education of India? And going
Dr. Bakshi, this is really a very good question here. We must know that our country, India, is a welfare state, basically. Providing education is considering one of the most important aspects for welfare state. Unlike United States, where education is privatized, in fact. So we always have to take care that we are working for the social sector, in the social sector. Here, India after independence, if you will see, with a poor literacy rate and high poverty, could not blindly follow the US concerns. And we have rightly took a socialist approach whenever any policies on education is decided. So this is our basic aim of education system here in our country. So vision of the new India here needed here change in our education system to adopt our kids with the changing world. And rightly so that NEP 2020 has followed that welfare approach to provide universal education to our students, along with the some good aspects of the foreign education system. This is important. Here, such an opening doors of the world-class universities like Harvard, Stanford to open campuses in India. So this intermixing of talent and research ideas definitely will boost the economic growth of the country, and new technologies would be worked on to achieve the vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Because without intermixing, it will be difficult to achieve here the aim of the Atmanirbhar Bharat. It is my personal opinion. Here, mere completion of the course is not enough, and any added vocational skill is required these days to be the part of India's growth engine. Earlier, we only work on just increasing the enrollment ratio here in our rural India, but quality of that education is not effectively worked upon that time. So I hope with the provisions of this skill training to school teachers under new education policy, the quality issues can also here be dealt with. NEP also has to proven that if some students due to some reasons left his graduation, then he can get some recognition up to that level of education. He has attended year in the college according to new exit policy in new education policy, NEP. And also if student wish to continue the education after some gap, he can do that also. Thus, talent of our students would not go based on such issue and will definitely improve the education structure of our country. With the vision to make here the youth Atmanirbhar through skill-based education and thus make the country Atmanirbhar Bharat. So I salute to our Prime Minister who has given this name Atmanirbhar Bharat. So the new education policy has been crafted accordingly. Here, this is a remarkable step, I think. The NEP 2020 provides that even the students of middle level shall be exposed to hands-on training in the vocational skills like carpenters, plumbing, electrical repair, electronic mobile repairing kind of things. So the policy has set target to provide vocational skill to at least 50% students by 2025 in such a way that the vocational skill acquires at school level may be further extended to higher education level. So depending upon the requirement of individual students, skill development initiatives for the youth in health, pharma, agriculture, electronics, and other emerging areas shall here prove to be significant milestone in the direction of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So the initiative of the governments is linked here with the theme of vocal for local. So definitely it will enable the aspiring youth to find the employment opportunity in local areas. And we will promote our product, definitely. So I think the new education policy and we who can hope that our policy here definitely will make us Atmanirbhar. Thank you.
Great. What a beautiful way of really giving a synopsis of the latest Indian education policy, especially three things which hit me from Professor Sani. One is that intermix between some global universities and Indian universities where we can intermix because we are global talent, vocally and locally. Second, he is talking about skill sets required for being better, effective managers and leaders of tomorrow. And along with normal skills, he is talking about vocational skills, which turns into employability quickly and instantly. So a carpenter with 3 months, 6 months, this skill set becomes a carpenter and becomes a, whether it's a singer, whether it's a carpenter, whether it's an electrician, anybody and everybody with that vocational skills and the business skills and other things, which can be management, leadership. I think I must respect the analysis done by Professor Sani on the education policy of turning India to be Prime Minister Modi's vision. And I can see Rotarian JP Malhotra Sahab already joined, Vice President of DLF Industries. He also promotes India's Atmanirbhar, into the country. So he must be enjoying the talk of Professor Sani and looking at that he is talking the same language which we have been talking for so many months now. Last 7-8 months, we have been talking about India becoming globally viable and Indian talent around the world, not only for India, for the global world. So global talent. Now, I am coming to another question. Now, COVID was, which is tough. I still say was. We are still in COVID, maybe end of COVID, and we will have We will move out of COVID. I call it DC during COVID. We will go to AC after COVID. And BC is a history. Before COVID was a history. Now, many questions got raised during this period on ethical leadership, whether it has been political, community, business leadership, tough times, tough times. How do you see this ethical leadership as one of the major drivers of companies, institutions, countries, and global world? I don't want to pinpoint on certain political leaders who were shivering during the COVID, and our Prime Minister Modi, like a lion, went forward and did things different. What is your view on ethical leadership when we talk about one planet, one world, one human being, respecting everybody, and one love, and not looking at colors and religions and countries? At the end of the day, we are all human beings. I am born in India, somebody is born in Brazil, in Narula is born in Thailand, doesn't matter. And Jennifer from Malaysia is born in Jennifer. I can see Kurt Walden is born in Frankfurt. He is there already from Germany on the show. So looking at this kind of a show, what we are doing right now on New DNA of Leadership, how do you see India as, ethical leadership practices, so far as India is concerned? What's your view on this?
Good. Ethical leadership, as you know, here is very important here for any business. But by that COVID duration, the biggest takeaway from the COVID situation is to make us realize that we humans are depends on our environment, basically. And our mother nature is not here our right to exploit. Because one important thing I have added here, that is environmental here protection by the business. Just see here in this interconnected world of globalization, a flu virus in a city in China quickly spread to the entire world, killed millions and disrupted the whole world order here. So any development which has to take place, that has to be sustainable development. Sustainable development stands basically on three pillars: society, economics, and environment. Environment is very important part here for any ethical leadership here. Ethical leadership basically play a major role in foundation of these three pillars here. For example, now the companies and their administration has to realize that if our future generation have to survive on this planet, then just focusing on economic growth is not important here. The environment should not pay the price of our economic growth. The Amazon forest fire and Uttarakhand glaciers break are some of the recent examples of here playing with the forces of nature. So any development, it should not harm the environment in any way. Now after the pandemic, the business model will focus more on productivity rather than just here attendance in offices. The power of work from home has been witnessed by all around the world. If you will see in lockdown situation in India, when the manufacturing sector here got a severe hit, then the agriculture and service sector, mainly IT sector, helped our economy to survive the pandemic. Ethical leadership can make helped our economy to survive here the pandemic. So ethical leadership can make here the positive impact on the business and power to create which employees can be trusted to do their jobs without being micromanaged. So setting and inspiring examples and laying the groundwork for self-motivated team will definitely save a great deal of time and money in the longer run. So in the coming year, I guess with the use of power of ethical leadership to create a better environment, one where your team feels valued, comfortable, and inspired to be their best selves. Here, the companies would like to willingly shift to the work from home model. This pandemic time definitely has provided us an opportunity for internal evaluation and assessment of both our individual selves as well as practices and policies of our professional lives. So
Beautiful.
definitely, yeah.
Beautiful. And I actually feel a lot of respect to you when you're talking about environment.
Yes.
That is one of the biggest challenge we have in days to come as well. And we are talking about our own country, what has happened to us, how many lives we lost. And same is happening in US, in Texas recently, in other parts of the world. So in case we are not taking care of the environment, and this small virus somewhere in China has destroyed the world, the economy, the people, some of us lost some of our dear friends, dear family members, and businesses have destroyed. So ethics is one of a very important aspect where we need to be taking care of environment first and then getting into the other things. Fascinating. This is great. Now I have one of the last questions. I don't know whether you know, I have been running a program every Saturday last 10 months. Dr. Kiran Bedi is my mentor, and I respect her a lot. She is my first Women Power. So I've been running a program called Women Power, a global movement, 20 countries around the world, wherein I again interview women of excellence. And I believe that gender equality is going to be one of the very important aspects. When you shared about your mom, the biggest women power, I share about my mom, the biggest women power. And without women, we are nothing. So, what is your view? Because in education excellence, in education industry, in institutions, in colleges, in universities, women are a bigger women power. There are a lot of women who have achieved excellence in the world, not only in universities and academic institutions, as well as in the corporate world. What is your view about women power? Of course, you are a product of a mom who gave you emotional support, and she is the first women power. Tell me about your.
Sir, I have seen your lot of videos on the women empowerment. I have seen, sir. And you will guess. I will just give you a hint. You will find my role model. The famous poem of Subhadra Kumari Chauhan.
Wow.
हर बोलो के मुंह हमने सुनी कहानी थी खूब लड़ी मर्दानी वह तो झांसी वाली रानी थी.
Wow. Fascinating.
So I guess not only mine, but she is the role model of millions of the girls here who would like to become here the Rani Lakshmibai here, like here Manu, in fact, which was popularly known as the courage of Lakshmibai. You know.
Beautiful.
Here, who defeat the and broke here every stereotype in India. That time, 1850s here. You know that here, socialist status of women here in 1950s were very weak that time. But she rose here as the most prominent leader and was here the face of 1857 revolt. Maharani Lakshmibai. She is known not only as fierce and courage fighter, but as a brilliant administrator also. Here and ruled his kingdom very well. She focused her energy in educating here the girls both academic and military training. She has evolved here and created a force here of women here that time. And that too gender bias with people had in their mind could finish. Still the here future generation could not believe how brilliantly a woman lead the freedom struggle here and found with the huge armies of British so valiantly. She is one of the prime example of women leadership in India, I think. Another great personality, I will share one more personality here, which made education her agenda and worked on it to change the face of girls' education with reforms. Savitri Bai Phule ji. She is also here, one of the very good here, in fact, women empowerment example here. She, along with her husband here, started teaching program to the Sudra community that time, kids, both male and female. It was taboo for even the lower caste males to get access to education. Just imagine what level of social criticism and opposition of the couple would here have faced in teaching the girls of the community. So India is fortunate to have such eminent personalities who are changing the face of women leadership, and their rich history has been motivating force here for the public and well served for future generation to take India forward. So I really salute here these two ladies.
We together will salute both the women power of our country who have contributed to the nation building process. And I tell you, Professor Saini, journey of excellence, certainly saluted. My last question to you, for those people who come from smaller towns, Bundelkhunds, Vijayawadas and Jammus and Jhansis and of the country. Here is one man who is from a small town, family not that economically strong, made it big. He is trying to tell you what he achieved and how did he do it against all odds and how did he become an education leader of excellence in the country. Sir, unke liye just 2-3 messages. How should they look forward of being forward? For the future leaders, whether they go to education, whether they go to corporate, what are those messages? छोटे-छोटे towns में कैसे वो आगे बढ़े?
Okay, sir. If you ask here me for 3 things, then I would say then, firstly, never hesitate to take risk in the life.
Wow.
Decide your career to try to go for highest level in whatever field you have opted. Never have fear of failure to take a big step. So this is my first message, in fact. Second one, I would like to say that hard work into whatever area you choose to opportunity you get. And third one, never regret about any decision in life. You may never know the step you took was on a gold mine or a landmine. So life is very unpredictable.
Oh my.
So have fun in the life with proper accountability. So I would like to say one story, a small story, I think, to justify here these 3 messages, if you permit me.
Sure, please go ahead.
Yeah. Here, if you will see the British rules, that was extremely bad for India and extremely favorable for England. I'm asking, although here the British use evil means to establish here their empire in India. So I don't want to people follow that immoral path. But in the initial process of them coming to India and setting up their business here, we can learn something from them. We should learn, in fact. Europe was a very poor continent that time, and India was the richest country. So you should know that both Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama set out from Europe to find out a sea route to India. They were basically started journey to find the sea route. As everyone was fascinated here by India and everyone want to come to India here to taste the riches of this particular nation, India. So Columbus landed in America, as you know, and Vasco da Gama in India. So after that, a series of expedition to see which were started here from Europe to come to India and to be the part of trade here in India. It was started here initial that time. All this way funded by loans from king here. Air travels were not invented here that time here and used to take many days to come to India from Europe through the sea route. Along with that, many people used to die on the journey due to different diseases or seasicknesses here. Even when they came to India, they had a very tough time because of extreme hot climates here compared to their climates. Many dies after coming to India from malaria or other different kind of heat storms here in our country. They did not fear that if the trade would fail and how they will pay back to the loans. They started for the business purpose. Just imagine if they would have fear from all these harsh conditions and decided to stay in their country, then they could not have been able to come to this wealthy position in which they are today. So when they come to India, initially the Britishers work hard and learn the local languages that time, or here dialected here to do business here and grabbed every opportunity they got here in our country. So in the initial year, the profit margin definitely was not very good, but they did not regret their decision and kept on working. Mentioned the decision working and they found success later. And wealth from India supported industries, revolution there, and the rest is the history. We all know it very well. So once again, I would like to say, never hesitate to take your risk in the life. Do hard work. Never regret about any decisions in life. Whatever may be wrong or right, but you must certain on your decision. So this is the three messages I would like to say here.
My God, whether you are going to be touching the gold mine or land mine, my God, that is what the three messages he gave to the future leaders: work hard and never think about that you have taken a wrong decision, move forward. And the story was truly wonderful. I am going to the VC Saab. I am going to the questions now from the public. And let me take public questions for you, Vice Chancellor Saini Saab. And my first question, which is coming, I would like to take the question from, first question which came here is, what are the small, Ashish, what are the small steps that can be taken to enhance research, whether they do not help them?
Sir, may you repeat the question? Actually, there was break in the net connectivity.
Ashish Singhal Saab saying, what are the small steps that can be taken to enhance research or promote the research in private institutions, whether they do not help them?
Yeah, this is really a very good question, I think, because in our education system, as far as the private institutions are concerned, they are basically the undergraduate institutions. So they don't focus here on the research part. But as far as here about the accreditation process, we have started in our country. So definitely that will force the management here to start here the research activities in their campuses. But definitely for small steps, if you will ask, you can give here some innovative assignments to their students to start here work on the problems, small problems, or whatever the problem you see here in your nearby areas related to here local problems. So definitely if you will start here working here in the local area on the problems of the local people, you will find here immense number of problems here to work on them. And definitely you will here start your research with the small steps by including the students with yourself who have the potential to work here.
Wonderful. The next question comes from, what's her name? It is Jacob. Jacob is asking, I know about Indian education. Indian education is great. How will you teach? There are a lot of African students in India. Are you giving equal opportunity for African students also to teach? Or there is, like other countries, there is various barriers, but India seems to be not having barriers.
Yeah, from your channel, I would like to say that as far as our university is concerned, we have 15% seats here reserved for the foreign nations. So there is no here differentiation between the Indian or foreign students. So I would like to invite here the students which are from foreign origins. They can come and work here with us, definitely.
Another question, how institution can bridge the gap between academic and industry for removing barriers of placement?
Definitely, if you will start here the startup activities in the campus. So by the small projects here, you can buy from the industries or itself you can create here the entrepreneurs in your own campuses. So if you will call the industry people, you establish the linkage because there is one important here part in our education system. There is a gap between the industry and academics because industry is basically oriented with the production activity. Research in the industry is very less. So definitely this new education policy will help here to reduce this gap between industries and institutions.
Now there's a question coming from Karen from Singapore. Karen is asking, I have known many great Indian teachers. Is it that India, from the childhood, everybody wants to be a teacher, doctor, or engineer? Why not any other professions? Karen from Singapore. Karen.
If you will see our new education policy, definitely you will find the answer of your question. Most of the things we have included in our new education policy. It is not here to create the engineers, doctors, or some other kind of. Everybody will become skilled professionals here in as per their choice. As I have told, maybe in electrician side, maybe in or other different pharma industries. So different kind of industries, different kind of platforms are there. So definitely this new education policy will reduce this gap here. That change the mindset of the people here of our country. Definitely everybody would like to become here the doctors and engineers.
Yeah, I can see Usha Cole from Angthong, Thailand, saying super, super. And I'm getting another question, which is coming from Devyani on the Global Talent TV. Devyani is saying, is there any scope for creating universities in smaller towns, not only bigger towns? Is education policy going to cover universities in very smaller towns, urban areas? Devyani is asking this question.
Yeah, so this is very good. In fact, I have missed here this part here. In our new education policy, every institution will become an autonomous institute. So every institution will behave like a university. There will be no affiliation system in the country after, I think, 2035. So every institution will act as a university in the rural area or maybe in the urban area. So every institution will able to award here the degree and training to the students as a similar manner like the university. So I think I have answered your question.
Very beautiful.
It is a beauty of our new education policy, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen around the world, you're watching someone from a very small town making it big and creating a name for himself and helping in nation building. Bharat Atmanirbhar. Today, he is a driver of PM Modi's India Atmanirbhar. And I can see even Professor Naik, director of Global Birla Global University from Bhubaneswar there. Now, I need to quickly round off before I go to questions. I think we have this question on Zoom, and I am putting him online. He can ask a question. Rotarian JP Malhotra, the Vice President of Faridabad Industrial Association. He's also doing a lot of work for Bharat Atmanirbhar. Malhotra sir, you can ask the question yourself. You're on Zoom.
Good evening, Malhotra sahab. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Sir, first of all, let me appreciate and acknowledge the in-depth knowledge that you have shared on the new educational policy.
Very good.
The point you made on the industry and the academia gaps. Sir, I have been suggesting at different forums that there is a gap. There is only one way I think the gap can be reduced. That is the Japanese way. Means the industry people go to the colleges and the college professors, teachers, lecturers come to industry, spend some time, walk the talk. They spend a couple of months, they say, 3 months, they say. The lecturers and the university teachers, they come to industry, see for themselves, and accordingly translate that information and knowledge and transfer the same to the students back in the university. That is my suggestion, sir. One point I would like to make regarding the ethical leadership, which Bakshi sir has been making and talking for the last more than 1 year. Sir, you are conversant with Rotary. Rotary celebrated 116th birthday yesterday only. 23rd February, Rotary became 116th year-old organization. So we have a 4-way test, which is very simple, and I'll just narrate in a half a minute. 4-way test for the things we think, say, or do. Number 1, is it truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and bring friendship? Number 4, will it be beneficial for all concerned? Now, we have been deliberating. I am a Rotarian for the last 20 years now. We have been deliberating. And if you apply this 4-way test in anything you think, do, or act, I think the ethical leadership can be developed on this foundation, sir. This is my submission, sir.
Beautiful, Malhotra sir. Beautiful.
Thank you, sir.
Just, I want to share one information with
Yes, sir.
Dr. Malhotra. In AICT, as he has suggested that the academic people should go in the industry and industry people should come to the academia. So in career promotion scheme, it has made mandatory by the AICT that every faculty member will go in the industry for industrial training of 1 month. So
wonderful.
That's why we are trying here to make here reduce this gap.
Correct. And this is a sure way, sir. I feel, because I have seen people coming from different universities coming to my factory. It's a small unit, but they get awestruck, and they've not been exposed to such an industrial atmosphere in a smaller manner also. And yes. I think once they come to what you are saying, very right, sir. And I appreciate the initiation taken by the AICT, sir. This is appreciable.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
I would like to move to the another question, and then we need to close it. We are already very late, and I can see Milane from Spain has already joined. Hello, Milane. How are you? This is another Vice Chancellor of a great Indian university who is making waves and creating India as a superpower with the education excellence. In the meanwhile, I can see Mr. unmute you, Mr. Malhotra. Mute you now. And I can see Mr. Shandalia. Would you like to ask a question? Quickly, I can unmute you. Atharva Shandalia. Would you like to ask a question? I understand. I can unmute you. I can understand.
Hello.
Yeah.
Very, very happy birthday, first of all, Bakshi sir.
Who's that?
Wish you very happy birthday, Dr. D.K. Bakshi.
Yeah. So actually,
I saw
from my son's account.
Thank you very much. Anshul is the women power. Yes, Anshul. Thank you very much. Yes, this is my birthday. And people are asking me, you are on the show on the birthday? I said, why not? How can I leave on my birthday?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dr.
But it is,
Bakshi.
sir, let me just tell you, the speaker is somebody who's very close and close to the heart of all of us, because being in the training fraternity, being educationist, Seni sir is always, somebody whom we always look at as a milestone, or as somebody who's motivating us throughout. Seni sir, I actually worked with UPTU also. And,
Okay, very nice.
Yeah. So that's the connect. And I was, I started as a training and placement head there. I was with GLA Institute also.
Yes.
Now it is a GLA University.
I am also in the board of GLA.
So, oh my goodness.
I am the member of the governing body of GLA also.
Oh, lovely. That's great. That's great to know.
You are invited to NSUT also.
Certainly, sir. I'll be so happy to be, whenever I'll be in Delhi, I will certainly come and see you there.
You're most welcome. Most welcome.
As you mentioned during your talk also, that there are so many institutes these days which were not there at your age or at our age. But at the same time, if we see, there is lots of variation between the quality of the education. Because if we talk about your age of people, your age of professionals, they were actually, jo hum guru bolte hain, they were like that. But if we talk about today's generation, somewhere like lots of fancy things have come up, and it's more about, presenting or show biz. So what would be your say on this, and how we can fill up the gap between that education of our generation and today's education?
Anshul, very good question. I love that question. Yes,
definitely, there is a generation gap, I can say, in our generation and today's generation. But I think all are right. We are right at our part, and the present generation is also here right at their own path. They have opted here the engineering because large number of institutions are there in the country, and large number of students are admitting here every year. So there may be the quality issue definitely this time. But we hope with this new education policy, definitely there are number of exit options. There are number of entrepreneurship options here. Startup options are there. So if the students are interested, because in new education policy, if you will see, every university will become here the multi-faculty university, multidisciplinary university.
So liberal education is being promoted there.
Yes. So students from the different background will come up to the university, and definitely they will explore the courses and subject of their choice. So I think with this, our new education policy, this gap will reduce here.
Very great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Professor Naik wants to ask a question. Birla Global University, Professor Naik, how are you? Nice to see
very
you.
fine. I'm very fine. Thank you very much. Thank you very. Of course, I joined this meeting very late, but anyway, apology for that. Namaste, Professor JP Saini ji, and
Namaste,
I
Dr. Nayak.
namaste.
Thank you.
I just I do not know whether somebody has asked the question earlier or not, but I feel though we are in a leadership position somewhere or other in academics, but you know, usually a teacher becomes a leader in academics. And you know, their teacher is always a teacher, whether you are becoming a director or vice chancellor. So usually there is no such succession planning for leadership in academic institutions. Like those who are teachers, we do not really get trained to be teachers, leaders, as it is done in the industry. What are your actually advices to the faculty members to empower them to be leaders someday? Because it should not be by accident, but it should be by design, as it is done in the industrial sector. What are your tips for those people who want to be successful leader in academics?
Very good question, Dr. Nayak. एक तो बड़ी खुशी हुई आपसे मिलके. I visited Bhubaneswar some 1.5 years back, I think 2019. Professor Nayak is again one of a very respected directors of a business school, and he has been in Greater Noida, and now he is at Birla Global in Bhubaneswar. He does fantastic conferences. I had an opportunity of being there at one of the international conferences. Very dear, darling friend. And
thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us.
I must, of course, intervene. Wish you a very happy birthday, Bakshi ji.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, it's a great day for you.
Thanks.
Dr. Nayak,
Yes.
I just say only one thing. We are not the leader. We are academic administrator, in fact. So we are doing the administration in the way of academics. Because if you will place here any of the leader, so I don't think he can understand here the problems with the faculty and students in the university system. So definitely the planning part is concerned, or some you can say your research part or the academic part. There is a combination of all these three, which is named by Dr. Bakshi as TRA, teaching, research, and administration. So person should be all-rounder from all these three parts. He must be a good planner. He should be a good listener. He should be a good researcher and good academics, teachers. So if a person is having all three qualities, definitely he can build up an institutions here in our country in a right direction.
Very good. Thank you very much. But anyway, we need to transcend from the leadership role, administrator's role, to the leadership role. We need good leaders in academics also.
This is TRA scheme of Dr. Bakshi.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, Padma Shri Dr. Pritam Singh was an education excellence leader, our guru.
Yes.
So yes. I am Lucknow, MDI, Gurgaon, as a business leader. In academic, he made it a business leadership, as well as the global world.
Right.
Him. And, he has been a great mentor for all of us. Professor Nayak, you know my relationship with such a great man.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, around the world, see how beautifully we are coming to a close of this event, where people like Professor Nayak, he's again a well-known name, have joined and asking questions with another colleague, that we need to have education excellence leaders to have leadership role in education as well. And there's no doubt about it. India needs to have education excellence leaders, but then teaching, research, academia, and administration makes it very, very strong. Those who are watching it now and who are going to be watching it later, here is a small town guy who is making it big because his mom, who was not educated, had given him emotional support to study, and the parents and the father supported him to be what he is today. Now I need to close it. We are more than 1.5 hours. I got now Inderjeet Narula, who is my global talent director in Thailand, born Sikh. He's a Namdari Sikh, born in Thailand, 4th generation in Thailand, and he is holding the port of Global Talent Company in Thailand. In COVID, I'm here, and Narula proposes the vote of thanks. And we would like to see him, Varsha and Amresh, and so that Narula can give us his vote of thanks to such a great gentleman. Varsha, Amresh, can we see him? You can put on your video as well as you can unmute yourself. Yes.
Yes, you can see me now, I hope.
Yes. Sawadee Krap.
Sawadee Krap, Dr. Bakshi. Before we go on, many happy returns of the day. May God bless you forever and always. Well, this evening, I would like to introduce and perhaps talk about a gentleman who is so simply elegant, an academician, a researcher, an administrator, a passionate teacher, who has published many innovative papers, who is so intelligent, who is so qualified, so experienced, and against all odds, achieved the highest accolade, and yet remain so humble. Ladies and gentlemen, I like to thank Professor J.P. Saini to no end for his very meaningful and motivating discourse this evening. Professor Saini, namaskar.
Namaste,
I hope you're
namaste.
doing excellent this evening. Now, his advice, we need to move forward with sustainable development. We need to balance economic gain and protect our environment equally. He promoted, because of the COVID and things to come in the future, ownership, micromanaging is not the answer now. Of course, you know, promoting ownership with accountability. He is talking about all must be kind, be compassionate, provide equal opportunities for economically weak students and also help the physically challenged. And that's very important in life because you become very, very satisfied from the inside when you give and help people to be able to sustain themselves. He also talked about promoting research and innovation. That is the way to move forward and be number one in the world. He's very grateful to his mom who gave him emotional support. And he is what he is today also because of his father who never compromised on quality education. And he is what he is today because of his brother who motivated and guided him in the direction to what he is today. And he is what he is today because of all the teachers and advisors who advise him to go and move into the right direction. And he is always thankful to God who is kind and blessed him forever. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, his summary for the youth: take risk, dare to fail, work hard, and no regrets for your decision, right or wrong. If it is wrong, learn from it. And also your job as a person to be kind, to be helpful, and to help build the next generation, help build leaders, not followers. We all can be very successful. Dr. Saini, I am very thankful to you, sir. And I would like to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and very thank you for a powerful discourse this evening, sir. Learn a lot from you.
Thank you very much.
Once again, thank you, sir.
And I can tell you, Professor Sani
Thank you.
Narula,
Thank you.
the director of ABAC University in Thailand, Bangkok, and he's the director of our company in Bangkok. He is holding the fort. I am in India, and that's how we work together. He is again a trainer and a leadership coach. Ladies and gentlemen, did you watch something exciting last 1.5 hours? What simple way of knowing about someone risen from ranks and making it big from a small town with the blessings of the mom and the dad. And today, trying to make India Atmanirbhar. Global talent, vocally, locally. And messages to future generations. Take risk. Doesn't matter, even if you fail. To fall is not a failure. It is only when you do not get up again. Get up again and go. Get up again and go. And this is risk taking. On behalf of Global Talent, on behalf of New DNA of Leadership series, I would like to thank Professor Sani from the core of my heart and for such a beautiful journey of excellence he shared as an education excellence leader. And those who joined from different parts of the world, thank you very much for being with us. Enjoy the show. Next Wednesday, another leader of excellence. Probably it's going to be from the corporate world. I had a couple of education excellence leaders. Now we are going back to corporate leaders, and then I have sports leaders, and then I have again Army and police generals. Thank you, sir, Professor Sani.
Thank you very much. Namaste.
Dr. Bakshi,
thank you,
we
Dr.
should
Narula.
get Professor Sani to Bangkok also, sir.
Sure.
He can
Once
give
you
us
visit India,
a great
you please
motivating
come.
talk.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
definitely. We'll do that. Thank you, Ji.
Okay, Professor
Thank
Nayak.
you. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you,
night. Bye-bye.
Professor Bakshi, Dr. Bakshi, I am sending an invitation for an international conference day after tomorrow online.
Okay.
I'm just sending to you. You can circulate among your contacts.
I will.
Okay, thank you very much. Invitation to everybody.
Okay.
And Professor Narula, my invitation to our Birla Global University in India. And Dr. Bakshi will be a person to bring you here as my good friend.
Right.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Professor
Look
Sani,
forward
nice
to meeting
meeting you.
all of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr.
very much.
Nayak. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Narula, and thank you, Dr.
Thank you
Bakshi.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.